Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News is made possible by Central Market.
Hello, and welcome to Eat, Drink, DFW, the podcast from the Dallas Morning News food team. Each week, we take a look at food and drink trends in North Texas, talk about restaurants in Dallas-Fort Worth, learn some new recipes, and sometimes even get tips from you, our listeners. I'm Julie Fisk, podcast producer for the Dallas Morning News, and this week we'll be hitting the highlights on restaurants you need to visit in North Texas. Then we'll explore a light, refreshing, and not too boozy cocktail trend that's perfect for spring. It's all coming up right after this.
Central Market is really into food, like fish flown in so fresh it still has jet lag into food. Our sourdough starter has been around since grunge was a thing into food. We're talking more prime cuts than a greatest hits album into food. Central Market is really into food. If you are too, then we're the HQ for you, whether you're a make every recipe in the cookbook foodie or a my favorite recipe is reheat type who just digs the delectable. No place makes every day more delicious like Central Market. Really into food. Shop now at centralmarket.com.
For the latest food and restaurant news in Dallas-Fort Worth, visit dallasnews.com/food. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so email us at eatdrink@dallasnews.com. So we're just now returning from a break, and while we were out, our brilliant Claire Baller left for new work. We're all very, very sad about this, but we're also really excited for her. So don't worry, Claire's byline will be popping up again soon in DFW. But for now, I'm going to take over as podcast host. So forgive me if I'm a little shaky, but we do have a lot to address since we've been out. As usual, today I'm joined by our food writers, Sarah Blaskovich, Imelda Garcia, and digital producer, Zakaria Washington. And DFW is absolutely flush with new restaurants.
That's right. I went out of town with my family for spring break. And in that one short week, when I had my out of office on, like 5 important restaurants announced their openings.
Boom.
Which it is not their fault that I'm out of town, but it does drive me crazy. I wish that things wouldn't happen when I were not looking. But okay, so for my list makers, pull out a pen. I'll give you the 3 top buzziest new restaurants right now, and then we can get into details on some of these ones later. So first, you'll want to keep an eye out for Cafe Luca. This is a new Sicilian restaurant near Knox Street. Second, Chef Tim Love is opening his new Mediterranean restaurant, Meraki, soon. That one's in Fort Worth. And 3, we'll get into the details on the new cocktail bar in Oak Cliff, Kilmax. This comes from the owner of the Old Monk, which is a bar that I dearly love.
I love the Old Monk. How long has that been around? I feel like I've been going there for 50 years.
You are not 50 years old. All right, please.
I am, but I haven't been legally attending bars that long. I'll say that much.
No, you are not.
Imelda is correct. It has not been around quite 50 years, but it has been around a very long time, since 1998.
Oh.
So just under 30 years. And Julie, I agree. The Old Monk is hands down one of the best bars in Dallas, in my opinion. And those of us who have been around for a minute, like you and me, I just have memories inside of those walls.
Okay, but first, Sarah, you broke some news this week that a beloved Italian restaurant, Adelmo's, will come back to life after closing on New Year's Eve.
This is really good news, you guys. This is a family-owned Italian restaurant. It started over 30 years ago on Cole Avenue in Dallas, and then it moved in 2016 to Lover's Lane and Inwood. And, you know, people just adore Adelmo's because Adelmo himself and his wife, Eliza, are inside the restaurant. And they're, you know, this is his restaurant with his name on it, and people know and love them. Well, rent went up at the shopping center at Inwood Village, and Adelmo said he couldn't afford to stay anymore, but he was looking for a new spot. Now, those of us who know Adelmo know he loves to work in restaurants, but also he's getting up there in age. And I just wondered if he was going to retire. You know, is this the last Adelmo's that we'll see? No, it is not. They signed a new lease at 635 and Preston Road, so at the edge of far north Dallas. And he is just tickled to death about the new spot. If you want to picture this intersection, it is near the Terry Costa, where I think I bought a prom dress.
Yes.
Way back when, yeah.
I think my bridesmaid stuff came out there.
Yes. And there's also a Maple Leaf Diner on that corner, and at Chili's and a couple other things. And so Adelmo's is going to move in there. Now, they're under construction, and it's going to be a couple of months, so be a little bit patient. But although Adelmo's took a little pause here at the beginning of 2026, it will be back with its famous lasagna and veal ossobuco.
That's such a relief, because I feel like a lot of times when restaurants close, we hear that they're going to try to reopen, and then you just never hear from them again.
Yeah, it's like we've heard this story before, but it usually ends in a sad story, and this one ended on a happy note.
And Imelda, you went to Pangea, the restaurant that just reopened in downtown Dallas. What'd you think of that?
It's interesting. This restaurant's name says it all.
Pangea has just reopened its doors, but this time in downtown in Dallas. And for several years, it was a very successful restaurant in Garland, but now it has a higher profile, right in the heart of the city, guys.
Tell us a little bit about that name, Pangea.
The owner says that his menu, it's global. And let's think about, we have to go back to elementary here, guys.
Yeah, this reminds me of what my kids are learning right now.
Yeah.
Yes. So we were taught at school that 300 million years ago, all the continents were only one continent called Pangea. So now the menu reflects that. It features 8 world cuisines and serves everything from sushi to steak, pasta, lobster, mac and cheese. So there's something for every taste. So I'm going to quote Chef Kevin Ashat, the owner. He told me, we have Japanese, Asian. We also have Caribbean, African, Italian, French, Chinese, and Mexican. No matter who you are or what you're craving, we have it.
So is that an enormous menu?
It's not, that is what it's interesting. It's a very small menu and the prices are really reasonable, for that kind of place. So I will say it's a great option if you want to try new things every day.
This sounds like a great place if you dine with somebody who eats the same thing every time.
Yes.
Like you got the friend who's like, I'm only eating the burger or I'm a buttered noodles kind of person. And you're like, okay, well, the rest of us would like a little bit something different.
Or you're dining with my family where no one can agree on what we want to eat.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. I know.
That is such a real thing.
Yeah.
Like when you throw it out to your most beloved people, like, what do you want to eat? They're not accommodating.
No, they're like, how can I make this difficult?
Yeah, right.
So Zakaria, you were also out. Tell us a little about Enzo.
Oh my goodness, Enzo. They're bringing nightlife to the Las Colinas area. I spoke with the executive chef, and he said that the menu features Southeast Asian cuisine topped off with a touch of Texas. But Greg, the general manager, said, come for the food, but stay for the entertainment. It goes from live music to impromptu karaoke's, and if you're lucky, fire dancing. They had they had that the first week that they opened. It was kind of cool, and they said the performer is coming back in April, so stay tuned for that.
Wait, I've never seen this in person. Have you guys?
No.
I've seen it on a movie.
I know, it's so cool.
Do you guys want to have an evening out where we go see fire dancers?
Yes.
We should absolutely do that.
Yes.
And the goal, Greg said, is to be different. He said that this region needed a concept like Enzo. There's several restaurants in the area that close at 10 p.m., which leaves not that much for the night crowd to do. But Enzo stays open to 2 a.m.
That's really cool because if you don't want to go to a club, like it's very noisy and things like that, and you can have a good dinner and good entertainment, I'm for it.
Yeah, keep it classy until 2 a.m.
Yes.
And then, Sarah, let's dip back into some of these exciting restaurant openings that you mentioned at the top. Tell me about Kilmax.
All right. So the owner of the Old Monk opened a second Old Monk, which I believe we've talked about on this podcast. The second one is in Oak Cliff, and it opened last year. Now, next door to the second Old Monk in Oak Cliff is this new bar, Kilmax. And the first thing that I noticed when I walked in, it is dark and cold. In a good way. Like it's a cocktail den is a good word for it. And the story of the building is that this was an old mechanic's garage, and then a guy bought it and turned it into his own man cave.
Wow.
All right, this dude's name is Ron Patterson, and Ron has since passed away. But Ron was known for, he had a ping pong table in there and pool tables and TVs, and he would roll up the old mechanic's garage door and sit there and kind of watch people come up and down Davis Street, which is now a pretty bustling part of Oak Cliff. And when Ron passed, the guy who owns the Old Monk bought this property and decided he was going to turn it into a bar. And as I was sitting in there drinking a cocktail and talking to the owner and his operating partner, I said, do you think Ron would like this place? And Fergal McKinney, the owner of the Old Monk, who also is from Ireland and has this great Irish accent, he said of Ron, quote, I think he'd pick a favorite stool and never get off it, unquote.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
Please tell me this place smells like your dad's garage on a Saturday when he's been working on his car. Please.
I think it smells better than that.
Okay.
Just to give, them a little credit. But this bar also kind of has dual personalities because there's this indoor part, with the cinder block walls and the good cocktail menu and the really cool backlit bar. But there's also a backyard garden, which used to be the backyard of the house that Ron lived in. That's a good name for a bar. The house that Ron lived in.
Yes.
Yes.
But so in the backyard, which is attached to Kilmax, is like an open air, sunny spot that feels like you're in the hill country. And there's an Airstream trailer parked in the corner that they've turned into a bar. So inside, sexy, kind of date night-ish. You know, maybe you're going to order like a good, cool cocktail with something interesting in it. Outside, high noons and vodka sodas.
It sounds kind of magical.
Yeah, it is.
I know. Well, and y'all, I'm one of those people who thinks that bars are kind of magical. I think that a bar is a wonderful place to sit and hang out. Whether you're a big drinker or a small drinker or no drinker at all, Kilmax wants to be a neighborhood place. A place where Ron would like to come. A place where the young, cool kids in Oak Cliff also want to go. And in fact, in the evenings, there's going to be a DJ. So I think the age will get a little lower. The music will get a little bit higher, but also like a patio happy hour spot. And in fact, they have pretty good priced cocktails on weekdays during happy hour. So put Kilmax on your list. I just think it's in a cool neighborhood, and it comes from people who have been in the bar business for nearly 30 years in Dallas. And I think that means a lot.
So let's shift gears a little bit. Imelda, you followed up on the story of Peter Fang, the Dallas line cook detained by ICE for more than 100 days. Where is Petey now and what's next for him?
Claire Valor broke this story in December. This is about Petey Fang. This is a renowned line cook that is originally from Taiwan. He is very, very well known in the high-profile restaurants in Dallas. He was detained by ICE because he had overstayed his visa, and he had a DUI for which he was arrested in 2023. Immigration authorities in that year had required him to undergo annual check-ins, and during one of those check-ins, he was detained in November 2025. So while he was in a detention center, Petey called all the contacts he could remember to see who can help him. But the only one that answered was Leslie Brenner. She was a former restaurant critic here at the Dallas Morning News, and she was the only one picking the phone. So Leslie reached out to several chefs in Dallas to explain the situation, and several of them supported Petey. She even paid for the text messages with Petey. She became his voice to the outside. So the shocking thing about all this is that Petey was detained for over 130 days, first in a detention center and then in a federal prison, even though he was willing to go back to Taiwan. So finally, the authorities deported him last week, and he is now in Kaohsiung. This is a city in southern Taiwan. He's doing well. He's with his family, and now he'll be supporting his mother and his sister because both have cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, so I spoke with Petey via Instagram messages. And it was very surprising to see his perspective of things, and how he changed his point of view. He says that now he realized what is truly important in life, and that before his dream was to help Dallas to get a Michelin star. But now, let me quote him here. He said, after getting so worked up about achievements and goals in life, in cooking, hoping to help Dallas win a Michelin star, I became greedy about what I wanted to do and numb or ignorant to what is more important to me. And this touched my heart, guys. So now Petey says that everything he went through helped him a lot to grow internally. And now he's more mindful and he's full of blessings.
Do you know if he's going to keep cooking in Taiwan?
Yeah, he wants to keep cooking. That's all that he wants to do, and he knows how to do it.
Yeah, if he's supporting his mother and sister, then he has to be working.
Yeah, he's really, really committed with his family right now.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for that update, Imelda. And you can follow the story by visiting dallasnews.com/food. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about vermouth cocktails.
Wait, are we having drinks?
Imelda, you're just going to have to wait and find out right after this.
Wow.
Central Market is really into food. Like when we say cheese, it's in 12 languages into food. Butchers, bakers, and sushi roll makers into food. We're talking so obsessive about quality you could shop blindfolded into food. Central Market is really into food. If you are too, then let us turn your shopping list into a treasure map. Get inspired, get adventurous, or just get a chef-made dinner when you've got more taste buds than time. No place makes every meal more amazing like Central Market. Really into food. Shop now at centralmarket.com.
Welcome back. We've got some cocktail ideas from an absolute expert on the way. But first, a quick reminder that you can always reach out to the Dallas Morning News food team at eatdrink@dallasnews.com. We love hearing your thoughts, and especially if you have some tips to share. Speaking of tips, a friend of mine shared a new cocktail with me recently, and it honestly might have cured me of bourbon, which is huge. My friend Philip found this drink while in Spain with his wife, and it mixed vermouth with some sprays of gin and a splash of Campari.
Whoa.
I think it's traditionally served with an orange twist and an olive and like some olive juice, but I haven't gotten that adventurous yet.
Wow.
But y'all, it's so delicious and really refreshing. And the best part is it doesn't leave you all hung over the way most cocktails do, like my beloved bourbon. It's also completely opened me up to vermouth cocktails, which I had never considered before.
So Julie, you mentioned this to me in passing the other day. Like, just like, we've been drinking this vermouth cocktail at home. And I'm like, you've been doing what? Vermouth to me does not seem to have main character energy. And I can count the number of times on one hand that like vermouth has come up as a topic in my life. And so being a food and drink nerd, I was like, tell me everything about this cocktail. So I love that Philip gave you this recipe and I love that you love it. But it inspired in me a conversation about vermouth. We need to see if she really has the main character energy that you're giving her. So today we have as a guest, Tanner Agar, CEO and creative director of Apothecary in Dallas and Flamant in Plano, and a guy I know who happens to know a whole lot about cocktails. Welcome, Tanner.
Awesome. Great to be back on the show. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so vermouth. Let's just start real basic because I don't want to assume anything. What's vermouth?
So vermouth is a aromatized wine product. So basically you take wine, you're going to fortify it with a little bit of brandy. Brandy is a distillation made from grapes. So the same way that basically if you make beer and then you distill it, that's how you get whiskey. If you make wine, distill it, you get brandy. And so if you take the wine, you add some of the brandy in and you add a lot of the botanicals. So vermouth actually goes back. The first recorded use of something similar to vermouth is actually 400 BCE.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the guy who created the Hippocratic Oath, right? Hippocrates.
Oh.
He literally suggested steep these herbs in wine, take this, it's medicine. And that's the original vermouth.
Wow, that's what the doctor prescribed then.
Yeah.
Also, Julie, you are so vintage.
I am.
Okay, Tanner, keep going. So it's wine, actually.
Right. So it's wine, actually. And the reason it got a bad rap and sort of fell out of taste is because it's wine. And we can get into that in a second. But it's basically fortified and aromatized wine. So very basically, if you wanted to make this, take a wine that you like, add some sugar, add some brandy, and add whatever herbs or botanicals are your favorite. Just keep them in the bottle and then strain it out and you can drink it. I've made vermouth before and it's basically this process.
Okay, we're going to make Eat, Drink, DFW vermouth. We're doing this.
Wow, yeah.
We can all do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have a little herb garden in my backyard. It's not like really impressive, but it's enough to put some stuff in a bottle.
I want to make it like weird, put like pepper vinegar.
Should it be a contest, Julie?
Yeah. That's
Flaming hot Cheetos. Like what else?
God.
What else can we throw in here?
Yes, please. Okay, Tanner. So anybody can make vermouth.
Anybody can make vermouth. I mean, normally people try to make it to represent the terroir of their area, their local environment. But Flaming Hot
brisket.
Cheetos, if that's your environment, if that's what your pantry looks like, then I guess that's your the terroir de Julie.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna use that name. I'm using that name.
You put terroir de Julie on your label. And you give him 1% when you start making millions.
It feels awfully fancy for Flaming Hot Cheetos booze.
So good. All right. So Tanner, I know vermouth because of martinis.
Sure.
And I think that's how most of us know vermouth.
Manhattans. I have it at home for Manhattans.
Yep. Okay. So in both of those cases, it's there, but it's not the star. And if you were to ask me like what it tastes like, I'd be like, I don't know.
Also, those are different types of vermouth.
Okay.
The type you use in a Manhattan is going to be sweet vermouth. That's red vermouth, actually made out of white wine grapes. It becomes red in the process of adding those other parts, right? But dry vermouth, that's what you're generally going to use in your martinis, although you can also use a type called Blanc vermouth. This is the third most popular type of vermouth, but there are several others. And that's the type you use when you make something like a Vesper, or if you've heard of products like Coqui Americano or Lillet, if you do a lot of like historic cocktail reading because you can't sleep at night, or because you're just obsessed with this topic, such as I am, that's the kind you would need for those. But those are different types of vermouths. And what does it taste like? Really, what its goal is to do is to sort of make everything else better. And this is one of the things that I really rally against with people is people say this thing. I hate when they say it. They'll be like, oh, I want a martini, but just shake it in the direction of Italy. That's enough vermouth. And you're like, okay.
Okay.
If you don't put vermouth in, it's not a martini. A martini has two ingredients. It is vodka or gin and vermouth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just drinking very cold vodka, which is fine. You can just do a tall shot of vodka served up if you want.
No.
But that's not what a martini is.
I've also heard like somebody say like, just put the vermouth like near it, like you're shaking
Right.
toward Italy, or even like the wash the glass and
Right.
throw it out. Tell me more about that.
So it's called rinses, right? That's where you add just a little bit of something, you swirl it around, and then you dump that out. People do this with vermouth because they don't like vermouth, or they think that they don't like vermouth because they don't know about vermouth, or people do this with absinthe. This is really popular. Some people make their old fashions this way. I want just a little hint of the absinthe, but I don't want to get hit in the face. Interestingly, actually, one of the major components of absinthe is called wormwood. The German word for wormwood, wormwood, is actually the root of the word that became vermouth. So the idea is that like that botanical correlation, those things are related. But anyway, yes, you need the vermouth. Vermouth has a texture that's amazing, and it has a flavor profile that's fantastic. So when you have vodka, many people buy vodkas that have almost no flavor whatsoever, right? They don't necessarily have flavor. They don't necessarily have texture. So this is why the vodka only martini is just not something that I can get excited about, because it's so nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas a really good martini, there's a texture. There's like a velvetyness to this. There's a little bit of sugar. Even dry vermouth does still have sugar, but there's also botanicals. Now, if you're drinking gin, and some of the people who popularized not using vermouth were using gin because gin already had the botanicals in there. But especially if you're a vodka martini drinker, this is giving you character. It's giving you body. It's sort of like, I guess I would equate it to, you could sit in your house and you could have a meal. But if all of a sudden you could be transported to having that same meal in the Italian Alps and having the breeze bring all of those alpine herbs like right across your nose as you're having that meal, don't you think it would taste better? Because that's what vermouth was invented to do. The guy who created it, Carpano, he created vermouth to capture the sense of Turin, the city of Turin. And then he gave it to the king, and the king loved it, and that's how it grew in popularity.
Can you drink like vermouth alone, or is it like a companion of other drinks all the time?
Yeah, of course. I always drink alone. I love drinking.
Yes, Tanner.
And how bad will be like the hangover if you go beyond your limits with that?
I'm guessing your question is, could you drink vermouth like by itself?
Yes.
Right. Yes. Which of course you can. I do this. Not very many people do it. I do love to drink it by itself because it's also a lower ABV product. So vermouth is much lower. You know, you mentioned earlier at the beginning about how it doesn't give me that hangover bourbon does. Right. Because bourbon's going to be about 40% alcohol. You'll be able to get vermouths that are like 17%. Right. So you're drinking a little bit more like wine, could be a little higher, depends on your brand. But yes, you can drink it by itself. Most commonly, it's mixed into other things. But what's really cool is people that are into vermouth, you can now get different brands and they taste different. And they're like Italian style is different than French style, and different places that make vermouths. You can even get American vermouths that are made from American herbs and kind of have that sense of terroir that we spoke about. And so it can actually be really fun to drink these things by themselves and to get to smell them and to get to taste them and to sort of almost get a picture of the place that it came from and the people that created it.
So Tanner, have you heard of the cocktail that I was describing earlier?
I can't remember the name of it offhand, but I have heard of this cocktail before.
Okay, yeah, because we don't have a name for it either. It was just the drink that Philip told us about.
Yeah.
And we've been drinking it ever since. But you're right. It's like we've been buying different kinds of vermouth to try it different ways. And it's so much fun. It's really delicious.
It's really fun. And if you get lucky, this is going to be hard to find, but there are people who are making it a little easier to find vintaged ones. So you can get ones that were like, hey, we released this in 97, 98. So, because again, its core product is a wine product. So the vintage of a vermouth can actually be really cool. And the aging process of a vermouth is really cool. There's a restaurant here in Dallas called Sachet. I don't know if they still do this, but at one point they had vintage vermouths that you could order. And I remember because I was there with my dad and we were joking that the vermouth I ordered was older than my sister.
Wow.
That's cool. Okay, so for those of us who want to learn more about vermouth and like try to understand whether we like it and in what, Tanner, can you give us an idea of like a simple taste test? Maybe it's try these 3 cocktails each which have vermouth and you can taste the differences, or is it buy these 3 vermouths so that you can know the differences between just those? Like how do we train our mouth and our nose better about this spirit?
I think if you wanted to learn about it, obviously the best thing is to buy it. And a lot of vermouth isn't actually that expensive relative to some of the spirits that are out there. And it's important to note, part of the reason is because it's not a spirit. This is super important. There's a whole very interesting history about like vermouth was popular and then it wasn't at all. And now it's come back. But part of the reason of this is vermouth is a wine product. It has to be had within about the 60, 90 days of opening it. And it needs to be stored in your fridge. So if you go into a bar and they have a bottle of vermouth that's just open and on the shelf and dusty, that is not where you should drink your vermouth.
Okay.
Yeah, because to think about it, all of us have opened a bottle of red wine. You don't finish it. You put it on the counter. You come back to it 3 days later. You don't expect the wine to be good.
Yeah.
Yet somehow that's what we're asking vermouth to do. And vermouth is a powerful, amazing tool, but it can't do everything. So it needs to live in your fridge. So that's a kind of a little sign that a bar might know what they're doing with cocktails if the vermouth is tucked away in a refrigerator. But if you want to get into it, I would start with red vermouth. That's going to be the sweetest one. It has a little bit more of like a red fruit kind of caramel, sort of like flavor profile. So that's going to be something that most people can go, oh, I think I kind of like this. On wine pairing dinners, I've made vermouth and we've served vermouth as the dessert wine.
Oh.
You can drink it like that. The Manhattan, that is the super classic cocktail other than the martini to have it with. So I would say try it that way. If you kind of wanted to play around though and sort of discover, there's a brand called Noilly Prat. That's a French style one. The original, also Carpano Antica, is a fantastic vermouth, but that's going to be Italian style. So if you kind of want to play around with trying different ones from different countries, that would be a good way to get into it. Or if you go to a bar, there are certain bars where they're going to have maybe multiple vermouths and they'll want to chat about them and they'll have those. That can also be a really great way to sort of inquire and learn about these. Why did you pick this vermouth? What does this vermouth do? Why is it in this cocktail? Could I just buy it and eat? It's not something I market, but we're happy to sell to people.
And Tanner owns Apothecary in Dallas, which is a bar that has expanded into the old rye space. And so you have even more cocktails and bars than you did now that Apothecary is 2 or 3 times as large, right?
Yeah, we used to have a 24 cocktail menu. Now between the two sides, they have different menus, but we've gone from having 24 cocktails to, something like 44 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And a whole dinner menu. And because we took over the rye space, we now literally have a whole big wine list. We have hundreds of bottles now of different things. There's several different vermouths down there because our bartenders can't agree on which the best vermouth. So, it's a lively debate amongst us. But yeah, we just expanded the space and it's been really fun. And also great to get to play with all these toys because this nerdy conversation about like vermouth. So we also do this for all other kinds of things. Like,
love it.
Does Pisco count as a brandy? Even it's made from grapes, but it's made a different way and it's made in a different place. So should we still tell people it's brandy or not? Right. Wow. And it's just that like all the time.
This is his version of is a taco a sandwich?
Yes. I would stay drunk if I worked with you. I would just be like, no, break out that bottle. Let's have this debate.
I know.
Well, hopefully you like me a little bit more than that. But...
No, not like that.
Okay, I want to ask one final question about the lovely vermouth, Tanner.
Yeah.
Does it have main character energy?
Vermouth has main character energy for like a Sundance film.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. I totally get it.
Do you know Paul Dano, like the character actor? Okay.
Yes.
I would say vermouth is Paul Dano. Is he for everybody? Maybe not. Is he amazing? Yes. Does he make a movie great? Fantastic. Is he going to be the star of the next Marvel entry? No. But if he's in a movie, is he just going to raise the overall quality of it? Yes.
Yeah.
So vermouth is the Paul Dano of the cocktail community.
I think earlier I was thinking that vermouth also seemed like the friend who tells you look pretty, because it makes things better. And I was hearing that it was doing these jobs with these other main character spirits like gin and vodka, but it was doing a great job if you just let her.
I thought you were going to say Zoe Deschanel, but I do like Paul Dano much better.
Yeah. I like him better. He's got some great films. Yeah, same thing. Can be great, has this sort of quirky kind of energy, but maybe, not going to be replacing George Clooney, for example. I think bourbon's still going to be safe.
Yeah.
Not too worried about vermouth, but happy to have vermouth along for the ride sometimes.
Phenomenal. Well, I don't know if anybody thought that we'd be talking so much about vermouth, but we really wanted to. There was so much there. Thank you, Tanner. That was phenomenal.
Of course, great to be here. And hopefully I'll see all of you guys at Apothecary or on our show where, of course, you've been a guest, Sarah, Flavor Files.
Yes, it's a great podcast and they talk a lot about food and drink. You should give it a listen.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. And if you have any delicious cocktails to share, we'd love to hear about them. Please email the recipes to eatdrink@dallasnews.com.
But Julie, next time, please bring a shaker.
Okay, yes. And maybe Tanner can bring the vermouth for us.
That's right.
Oh, and speaking of next time, please make sure you're following Eat Drink DFW wherever you find podcasts. That way you're never going to miss an episode. For the news, I'm Julie Fisk. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News is made possible by Central Market.